What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Movie Raised.
Visual effects, or VFX for short, are becoming an integral part of any movie that comes out. Even though they are pricey, it allows studios to create an entirely different world, one that would be impossible to create without them. And all of that advancements in technology have made even the hesitant directors try them on for size. Jon Favreau was hesitant to utilize them in the Iron Man trilogy, but he came around once he saw how seamlessly they blended with the environment. But today, we actually wanted to strip down the movies down to the bone and look at what the actors and scenes look like without all of the visual effects. So, if you're interested, let's look at how movies look like without CGI and VFX. Let's go, guys! Number 10. Godzilla. There were 30 films made in the entire Godzilla franchise, so it should give you an idea of how much people are in love with this monster, especially in Japan. The newest movie in this franchise was the one directed by Gareth Edwards. One of the remarkable things is how the studio managed to make the monsters look so realistic. And boy, were there a lot of them. One of the most famous scenes is when Godzilla battles with the two creatures at the same time. He manages to defeat them, but none of the actors got to see the action. It was all computerized. Rodeo in-house practical team had a special technique to simulate dragon breath. They dunked cereal into liquid nitrogen, popped them in their mouth, and exhaled. The heat from the body and the cold liquid nitrogen made for the perfect shot. Number 9. The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 became synonymous with CGI and VFX, and although Andrew Garfield plays the role perfectly, he couldn't have done it without all of the VFX. The director paid close attention to the physics involved during his swings. They wanted Spider-Man's body to remain believable and human-like. From the wrinkles all the way up to the flabby cloth, then Spider-Man is free-falling. The directors thought of everything, refusing to leave anything to chance. And they even focused on making his muscles jiggly when the CGI silhouette moved in order to make it more believable. Plus, if you didn't know this, the entire scene with Spider-Man vs. Electro was never actually shot. It was designed on a computer screen and voiceovers were added after. Number 8. Game of Thrones. No introduction needed, we all know Game of Thrones. It was watched by fans the same way you'd gather at a friend's house and watch the football game. While the fire-breathing dragons were a nice addition to the whole story, they sure were hard to create in a studio. The entire body of the dragons was CGI. And when Dany was riding one of these beasts, she had to mount a contraption that moved similarly to the dragon's motion. And then all of that footage was edited out and turned into a dragon. This allowed the Dragon Queen to smash that like button if you haven't done so already. And all of the scenes with the zombies and the White Walkers had to be edited and made it in a way that would convince the viewer that, hey, these are undead zombies chasing us. And if you thought the eyes of the White Walkers were fake, guess again. They were all wearing blue lead goggles to simulate their authentic look. Number 7. Man of Steel. How do you shoot a movie with one of the most powerful beings in the entire cosmos? You CGI the crap out of it. Because if it's not big, it's not good. Whether it would be punching, flying, lifting, running, CGI had to be involved in the entire process. Only the emotions of Superman were real, and in order for it to look like he's actually in the air, Superman was mounted on a platform, belly down, and the platform began to wobble in order to seem like Superman was losing control. And believe us when we tell you General Zod was not happy about having to wear tights in a CGI costume throughout the entire show. Number 6. Doctor Strange. You didn't actually think Doctor Strange had a battle with Dormammu, did you? That's right, those are just one of the many Doctor Strange scenes that were actually achieved using CGI. And we cannot forget all the spirit fights the Doctor had to go through. All of those spinning portals that were being opened were nothing more than a glowing metal ring with a green screen behind. The screen was later edited in the studio to make it look like the monks had traveled to a different location. And all of those illusions and space manipulation, yep, all computerized. Number 5. Iron Man 3. 16 international studios were given the task to alter the visuals of the third Iron Man movie. To make the suit look real, Tony Stark had to wear tights that would later be turned into a beautiful suit. But it sure was embarrassing walking around on set like that. And if you remember the scene where the house was bombarded with missiles, that was all CGI. Not to mention that when Tony equipped his wife with the suit, she was wearing tights as well. And Robert was actually in an airplane when he jumped to save those people. But they weren't that far off the ground. That was later edited by the special effects team in the studio. Number 4. The Hobbit. J.R.R. Tolkien made us fall in love with the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies. But imagine seeing the deadly, fire-breathing dragon who hoards the dwarves' gold, being Benedict Cumberbatch in a gray VFX suit and just portraying the movements of the beast. His face was covered with special dots to register all of the expressions and later transfer them onto Smaug. And another character that followed pretty much the same path was Azog. He was the pale, blue orc that Thorin had to fight near the end. To portray the character, Manu Bennett had to film all of the animation in a small separate studio, and then simulate the mace he was wielding. The actor had to swing a CGI stick during filming. Number 3. Avengers Endgame. Besides playing for the cast and crew, the most of the $300+ million went to graphic designers and CGI artists who made this movie absolutely unforgettable. When Tony Stark was featured alone in a space pod, only the body of the pod was real. The background was nothing more than a CGI galaxy added onto a green screen. Many of the landscapes were actually very smaller than what they actually appeared, and they were shot with inside a studio. But one of the best things we saw in this movie was the Professor Hulk. The moment when Bruce finally managed to tame the Hulk and they become one. Although Mark Ruffalo had to film an entire diner scene wearing a VFX costume, when you see the mind-boggling results, you'll see it was worth it. The effects were so good, they even managed to capture the pores on Hulk's face. How cool is that? Number 2. Thor Ragnarok. It was hard to forget the scene with Valkyrie when she demolished Thor's Mjolnir. But in a way, she didn't really destroy it. It was just a CGI animation that the studio created. And when Asgard was attacked by Odin's daughter and the people were fleeing on the bridge actually did exist. The background, however, was nothing but a blue screen turned into a magical city of Asgard. Even the giant bloodthirsty hound was nothing more than a CGI image in motion. And the entire scene with Surtur finally being released from the underworld and Valkyrie getting killed by the lava golem was entirely created on the computer screens of the studio. And as our team of superheroes stated into the blue screen, the destruction of Asgard, the movie wraps up on a hell of a note. Number 1. Stranger Things. Season 3 of Stranger Things finally revealed the Shadow Monster, the most powerful creature in that world. The way they shot the scene was by developing a special camera rotation where you see the famous frame move from the real world to the upside down world, where the CGI takes over and it shows the hellish red environment the Shadow Monster has created. Another cool feature were the Demogorgons, the four-legged creatures that evolved from a small iguana-like creature into these flesh-eating demons who opens their mouth and reveals the terrifying flower-shaped mouth and teeth all over. To allow the actors to better interact with the creatures, the crew created silicone molds of the creatures that the kids could hold in their hands, and then the CGI team took care of the rest. And on that note, we end this video. But hey, what did you think about the last season of Stranger Things? You can tell us in the comment section below. If you'd like more videos like these, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of them. And as always, thanks for watching, guys!